All right, let's move on to the second question today. The second question comes to us from Brian Bruckheimer, or Butchheimer, or however. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, Brian. Hey, all. Love the show, and you guys are awesome. Thank you so much, Brian, even though I just mispronounced your name. I have some questions for you. With films based on lesser-known comics like The Losers, Scott Pilgrim, and Kickass not being huge box office successes, do you think studios will shy away from non-mainstream comic book movies, or will they continue to make them based on the popularity of the comic book genre in general? Also, what are some non-mainstream comics you'd like to see made into movies? I would personally love to see Umbrella Academy and maybe Danger Girl. Thanks. Well, I mean, started with Losers, Scott Pilgrim, and Kickass. These are actually all movies I really like. I really like The Losers. I know not a lot of people did, but some of us did. I really like Kickass. I really liked Scott Pilgrim, obviously. But no, I think you're right. I think the fact that you have these really lesser-known comic book things not faring well, relatively speaking, not faring super well. I mean, I think it's one of the reasons they kind of pulled the plug on the Runaways, and we talked about Runaways on yesterday's installment of AMC Mailbag. But yeah, I mean, look, just because something is a comic book doesn't mean people are going to rush out and see it. People rush out to see Batman in record numbers because they all know Batman. People rush out to see Man of Steel to the tune of $600-700 million because we all know Superman. Now, every once in a while, you'll get a lesser-known comic book character that might do well. Blade is a great example of that, although one of the very rare examples of that. But that's because Blade had a lot of other things going for it. You know, Twilight hadn't killed the vampire genre yet. So at the time, doing like a badass vampire hunter kind of thing, who's half, you know, he's the daywalker, all that kind of stuff, that appealed. So it had appeal even beyond those who read the comics. It's difficult finding comics that can do that without that wider knowledge base and appeal. So I think you're right. I think that will cause a lot of people to shy away. As far as the second part of your question, lesser knows, we can have like a 2-hour-long discussion about that. I will say that a very lesser-known comic that just started, that already has a movie deal now, Daymen, is that movie is coming. I finally read the first issue. Only one issue's out, and I bought it and I read it the other day on my Comixology app, and it's great. So I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Because you didn't know originally. I remember I bought it.
Oh, did you buy it?
I bought it, and I think you sold it because you're like over vampires, and now you read it and you loved it, right?
Oh, I did.
Awesome.
I liked it a lot. Yeah, I was just. By the way, I got to recommend this. This is not AMC. Android app show. But if iOS or Android app, get the Comixology app. It's great because I'm just lying in bed one night. It's like, hey, that's right. There's that Damon movie I was thinking about. I'm just going to buy it and read it right now. Boom. And I read it. And
your wife loves the app too, doesn't she?
Oh, yeah. She actually spends all my money on that app, actually, because it's connected to my account. Anyway, Aaron, let's go to you. What do you think about studios? And do you think that, not stellar box office performances from Loser, Scott Pilgrim, and Kick-Ass, do you think that it keeps studios at bay when it comes to lesser-known comic book characters?
No, I don't think so, because Kick-Ass made most of its money on the back end. The DVD sales were through the roof. It did extremely well.
But let's keep that in perspective. Our terminology for through the roof is not what it was 5 years ago.
That's true.
Like, Kick-Ass didn't make $20 million in DVD. I mean, so we got to keep that in mind.
And I know that's a little bit of a gamble when it comes to a studio, but I also think that we'd be robbing ourselves of a lot of great opportunities if you thought of everything in terms of purely money making. And I know they're in the business of making money, but I'd also like to think that people that make movies are also in the business of making art. That being said, when I think of art, I think of Plastic Man, who is DC, a lesser known comic. But what an interesting character and what a fascinating origin story that could make. This is a guy who was involved with a gang. Somehow something went wrong, gets saved by a monk, spent time at the monastery, discovers this weird power that he has. What an interesting story that I would love to see play out in some aspect on the big screen sooner or later. I also have been dying for an Akira reboot, but not at the sake of compromising what Akira is supposed to be. And if that means going indie or low budge, go indie, go low budge. If that means a movie with subtitles, I'm okay with that. I don't think that Zac Efron should be in it, and I don't think we should westernize Akira if we get a reboot, but I would love to see that happen as well.
What about you, Amy Rose?
The first part of the question. So Kick-Ass did just get a sequel. So it obviously wasn't too much of a colossal failure. While all these films, might not crush at the box office, soar through the roof, they aren't necessarily giant failures either, especially if a sequel is able to be made. And as Aaron mentioned, there are other aspects after, in post that can help raise, but DVDs are not where they used to be anyway. That's why everyone's going digital.
I always like to point people, I don't know if you guys watch, we talked about this in the show the other day, I don't know if you guys watch South Park, but one of the best episodes of South Park ever is the one where Kyle's dad buys the Blockbuster. It's a great, if you haven't seen that episode, find it online. It's amazing. It's like the whole episode is basically, Kyle's dad's so excited, I bought Blockbuster. They sold it to me for only $10,000. It's like, Dad, nobody rents or buys DVDs anymore. Nobody. And it's all about this thing about how it becomes a play on The Shining. Because Kyle's dad is in the Blockbuster and he starts going crazy because nobody comes in there. And he starts seeing ghosts of movie renters past. And if you haven't seen it, it's really quite great.
They're clever, that team.
They are.
But I have to say the rental thing is a nostalgic thing about movies that I will miss.
Yeah.
I feel that
same way about books. I love the feel of book and the smell. But in terms of like a lesser known, nobody really knew about V for Vendetta until they made a film. And that series is incredible. And it's very political, very cool, very badass. Love it. I would love to see them do more. And another one, I love Batwoman. Kate Kane is so cool. Not only is she like very similar to Batman, she's an ex-military, she's a lesbian, which we don't have a lot of those in popular mainstream, which is why they'll never make it, but they should show a little more diversity. And she's a badass, has all this training, and had this chance encounter, is trained by Nightwing. It could really fit into this universe really well, so I would love to
have
see
you heard
that.
about the new controversy about Batwoman? That the writers from Batwoman in DC, if I'm remembering this correct, just quit and left because DC would not allow them to have her get married to her girlfriend.
Really?
In the comics, yeah. So they walked. They left. So that's
are we still in medieval times, people?
Little controversy going on in the DC universe there.
If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to AMC Movie News on YouTube. It's free and a great way to stay updated with all the latest movie news and check out our daily show, AMC Movie Talk. Also, don't forget to check us out on Facebook and Twitter to stay in the loop for our special prizes, giveaways, and contests.